Welcome back to the Technology Risk Podcast. Before we get into today's topic, and it is a big one, if you find this analysis valuable, please just take a second right now to subscribe. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, basically all of the big podcast sites. It's really the best way to make sure you never miss out on this kind of security intelligence. Okay, so we need to talk about December 17th, 2025. This was not, just a routine patch Tuesday. This was something else, a huge global high-confidence alert. And it came from both Apple and Google at the same time, warning about active spyware campaigns.
It really was unprecedented. I mean, when you get those two giants who are usually competitors to break their normal process and issue a direct urgent warning like that, it means the threat they've found is not just widespread, it's incredibly serious.
Right.
We're talking about threats that can silently take over a device and just siphon off sensitive business data, everything.
Yeah. So for our discussion today, based on everything we've gathered, we really have to break this down. First, what do these massive alerts actually mean for, business security, even if you're a small company? Second, how exactly does this spyware turn a normal phone into a silent surveillance tool? And finally, and this is the most important part, why do small to mid-sized businesses have to start treating their mobile phones and their email as a core security risk right now?
That last point is everything. The distinction between, personal tech and core business risk. For most SMBs, they're running on consumer phones, standard email. This alert confirms it, the mobile phone and the email inbox. That is now your primary attack surface.
And it's not theoretical.
No, not at all. It's confirmed. We've seen data from places like Citizen Lab, and it's terrifying. Mobile spyware incidents are up over 90% globally in just the last 2 years. And these tools, which, used to be just for nation states targeting spies, now they're commercial. They're being used against regular businesses.
That's the key takeaway right there. The barrier to entry for this level of surveillance has just completely collapsed.
Okay, let's unpack this. When we say Apple and Google issued this alert, we're not talking about some basic adware, right? Or spam.
No. These alerts are reserved for the absolute apex predators of spyware. Think Pegasus-class tools. This is the top tier. It's designed to be surgical and, more importantly, completely invisible.
So what does that invisibility look like? If one of these tools gets on your phone, what can it actually do? What are the capabilities that, keep security people up at night?
Well, it's built for total persistent stealth. It gets into the core operating system, and it just sits there. It observes. This gives an attacker full message interception, not just your texts, but your encrypted apps, your WhatsApp, your Signal.
Wow.
It gives them microphone and camera access, of course, real-time location tracking. And for a business, this is the killer, credential harvesting. And it's persistent. It survives a reboot. So turning your phone off and on again, that does absolutely nothing. And for years, we had this myth, right, that if you were on iOS, you were somehow inherently safer. But the sources we've seen, they tear that idea apart.
That idea is completely obsolete. Attackers are not picking a side. They're not choosing iOS over Android. The data from Google's threat analysis group is really clear on this. 67% of modern spyware campaigns are designed to be cross-platform from the start.
So they're just opportunistic.
Completely. If a zero-day vulnerability shows up for iOS, they use it. If one appears for Android, they pivot. They just target the device. They don't care about the logo on the back.
Which brings us to this term zero-click.
Yeah.
It's honestly terrifying. We spent decades telling people, don't click the suspicious link.
Right.
But that advice is almost useless here, isn't it?
It is. The defining feature of this spyware is the zero-click exploit. The infection happens, and this is the scary part, without the user doing anything at all. No click, no download, no interaction. The vulnerability is usual in how the phone's operating system just processes incoming data.
So how does that data even get to the device in the first place?
It exploits things that seem completely harmless. We're talking about a specially crafted file sent to a messaging app, a malicious calendar invite.
A calendar invite.
A calendar invite. Or even just the preview of an email in your inbox. Sometimes even the way the phone handles a push notification in the background, the phone processes it automatically, the exploit triggers, and the spyware's on the device before you even know a message has arrived.
What's fascinating here is it's not just that these tools are for sale. The whole method of attack has shifted from exploiting people to just exploiting the software itself.
Exactly. And that's why we have to stop talking about this as a consumer privacy issue and start treating it as a critical business risk.
Okay, let's make that link concrete. For an SMB owner listening right now, why is the phone in their employee's pocket a direct threat to the business?
Because that phone is probably the single largest source of unsecured, high-value business intelligence they have. Just think about what's on there. Email threads about strategy, vendor negotiations, MFA tokens, those one-time passcodes.
Password reset links?
Password reset links. If an attacker owns that device, they effectively own the keys to your entire business.
Yet everyone is using their phone for work now. The dependency is huge. I saw a Forrester statistic. Something like 74% of SMB employees access work email and systems from mobile. So the phone is the front line. And it's almost always unprotected.
And that's where the traditional security model just completely falls apart. Your corporate firewall, the EDR on your laptops, your email filters, they're all bypassed. They're irrelevant once the spyware is on the phone.
So the attackers don't need to make any noise trying to hook in?
No. They're already inside. They just sit and observe the user quietly. They watch every keystroke, every notification. They avoid all the noisy activity that would normally set off an alarm.
And that quiet observation leads right back to the biggest weak spot for most companies: email.
That's right. The numbers from Verizon's big data breach report are consistent year after year. 61% of successful business fraud still starts with email access. Email is the command center. And if an attacker can see that email through an infected phone, they can do devastating damage.
Like what? What's the end game?
Invoice fraud, changing wire transfer details. They can run incredibly sophisticated social engineering attacks because they have the full context of all your conversations.
Okay, so let's talk about that real-world impact. How does this quiet observation lead to damage that a business might not even notice until it's too late?
It's the lack of noise. Take credential theft. The attacker doesn't need to run a brute force attack that would trigger alerts. They just watch. They watch the employee log into the bank or Salesforce or whatever, and they see the password and the MFA code in real time.
A clean takeover. No alarm.
Exactly. 0 failed logins.
And what about the competitive intelligence side? This is the kind of thing a company could just write off as bad luck.
Absolutely. The sources talk about a small manufacturing firm. They were bidding on a huge contract. They lost because a competitor seemed to know their pricing strategy before they even submitted it.
And it wasn't a server hack.
It was a silent leak from an executive's phone, a phone that had all the internal roadmaps, pricing discussions. It was being watched for weeks.
On top of the financial risk, there's a huge legal and compliance risk here too, right?
A massive one. Think about the data on these phones. Client PII, financial records. The Panon Institute found that breaches involving mobile devices are 38% more likely to trigger mandatory regulatory reporting. The stakes are just higher.
This combination of people using their own phones, BYOD, and the fact that the company has no visibility, it's a perfect trap for SMBs.
It is. Let's break down that trap.
Okay, first, the bring your own device reality.
Most small businesses allow it for cost, for convenience. But those personal phones, they just don't have enterprise-grade protection. They aren't being managed properly.
Which leads to the second problem. No visibility. You can't protect what you can't see.
Precisely. SMBs don't have mobile device monitoring. They aren't analyzing app behavior. They don't have the telemetry to spot the incredibly subtle signs of a zero-click attack.
And then you have the psychological element. We all kind of trust the big tech companies to keep us safe by default.
And that implicit trust is the most dangerous assumption you can make right now. This global alert from Apple and Google is proof that platform security does not equal immunity. The platforms are patching holes as fast as they can, but the spyware industry is moving even faster.
Okay, so given the urgency here, what are the immediate non-negotiable actions an SMB needs to take right now?
Step 1 is the absolute baseline, immediate OS and app updates. It has to be mandatory. U.S. CERT data shows that 58% of mobile exploits target vulnerabilities that have already been patched. People just aren't updating their devices.
Okay, updates first. Got it. Then you have to deal with the fact that work and personal life are all mixed up on one device. What are steps 2 and 3?
Separation and restriction. For separation, you need to enforce separate profiles or containers for business data wherever you can. Create a wall between personal and corporate. For restriction, you have to reevaluate access. Should employees really be able to approve wire transfers from their phones?
Probably not.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Limit mobile access. Maybe read only for email. Definitely no access to admin portals. No financial approvals.
The restriction part, though, that's where SMBs might push back. They value being able to work from anywhere, respond quickly.
And you have to have that conversation. It's a risk calculation.
Hmm.
Is the convenience of approving a $50,000 invoice on the go worth the risk of a compromised phone initiating a fraudulent transfer for $500,000?
When you put it that way, no.
It's about protecting the entire business, not inconveniencing one person.
All right, let's go to step 4, email security, the gateway.
Enforce multi-factor authentication everywhere, no exceptions. And, critically, get away from SMS-based MFA if you can. It can be intercepted. Use app-based authenticators. And monitor your logs for unusual login behavior. It might be the only clue you get.
And the final step, step 5, is education. But it's a different kind of education this time.
It has to be. You have to teach employees that this kind of spyware doesn't look like malware. There are no pop-ups, no slow performance. The new rule has to be. Any weird device behavior, no matter how small, gets reported immediately.
And the real-world stories really drive this home. There was a success story you found.
Yeah, professional services SMB. After the alerts, they immediately enforced updates and cut off mobile access to financial systems within 48 hours. Shortly after, they detected and blocked an account takeover attempt from a mobile device that was likely already compromised.
So speed and policy saved them.
Speed and policy matter more than having the perfect, most expensive tools.
And what about the failure example?
A retail SMB. They saw the alerts, thought it was a consumer issue, and did nothing. The result was, well, predictable. Email compromise, fraudulent vendor payments, data exposure. The lesson is that treating mobile security as optional is a grave business risk.
So looking ahead, this isn't a one-time fix. How should businesses change their mindset for good?
Mobile devices have to be treated as a Tier 1 security surface. They need the same level of attention, the same patch management, the same monitoring as your critical servers. They are the new gateway.
And we should probably expect more of these kinds of alerts from Apple and Google. This wasn't a one-off.
No. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the commercial spyware market is booming. We have to expect more platform-level warnings as these tools evolve and get cheaper.
Which means your incident response plan has to include mobile.
Absolutely. You need a playbook. How do you revoke access instantly? How do you reset credentials everywhere? How do you isolate a compromised device before observation turns into active theft?
So let's bring this all together. The core lesson here is that these global alerts prove mobile devices are now the front line.
And you don't need perfect security. You need awareness, you need clear policies, and you need to be fast. Treat mobile and email like the critical business systems they are, not just personal gadgets.
And the final thought for everyone listening is this. If an attacker can silently watch your phone, they can silently watch your business. So ask yourself, what business conversation did you just have on your phone? Or what approval did you just make that you wouldn't want a competitor to overhear?
So what does this all mean? It means the risk profile has changed for everyone. And it's time for our security policies to finally catch up to this new, silent reality.
Thank you for tuning in to the Technology Risk Podcast. We really hope this gives you the insights you need to protect your business. And if you found this valuable, please take a moment and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, or wherever you listen. We'll be back soon with another vital topic for your business security.